to A Well-Designed Business. My name is Luann Nigara, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of A Well-Designed Business. It's Power Talk Friday. Happy to let you know I have Jennifer Burnham with me today. And wait until you hear the number of roundabout coincidences that we have with Jennifer with this podcast with our common friends. But we'll get to that in a minute. Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I am great. And I am excited because you're an organizational coach. And I love that, organization coach, right? And I love that because we recently had Amber De La Garza on the show a couple of weeks ago, and she's a productivity coach. And I think the two of you guys kind of like run hand in hand. And what I know is, as creative people, this is one of our Achilles heels, this organization and this creativity and this productivity, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to get to our conversation. First, let me share a little bit of information about you. So Jen, according to her bio, says that she's an organizational coach who believes organizing is about more than color-coordinated baskets and pretty labels. Okay, so we just set a lot of people off, Jen. Right? You really work with your clients and help them dive in and get clear on what they want the experience like to be, whether it's in their home office, in their actual home, and how they want their life to be organized so that when they're in their life, right? So it's like that kind of working on your life so you can be in your life instead of, we always say we work on our business so we can be in our business, right?
Exactly.
Yes, I love this whole approach that you have to it. And you've spoken at IKEA, you've spoken at community organizations, you've appeared on Charlotte Today. Before we get to that, I just want to remind everybody, Jen, about our sponsor, Cravat Inc. And to let you know, if you haven't heard yet, that right now Cravat is having a 10% off sale on Cravat Furniture, Lee Joffa Furniture, Holland McRae Furniture, okay? You can get 10% off if you're in the trade and you have your account with Cravat, and all you have to do is shop, specify it for your client, sell it to your client, right? And then go over to Cravat and order it, and you use the code W7 at checkout to get your 10% off, okay? This is until March 4th, 2019. So depending on when you're catching this show, hopefully you're in time to catch this great sale on furniture by Cravat, our sponsor. So thanks so much to Cravat for that. Okay, now let's talk about how funny and how small is this world, right? So I am at High Point this past October 2019. I specifically go to the Sylvester Alexander booth because I know that my friend Sheryl Luckett has launched at that market her new furniture line. And I go there, and who do I find there? I find Kim Cutable there, right? But then you too, and I meet you too, and I find out that, wait, I know Kim knows Cheryl, you know Cheryl, I know Cheryl.
It was a funny little triangle.
Yeah, too crazy, right? So tell everybody, how do you know Cheryl and how do you know Kim?
So Cheryl and I have been best friends for probably 7 or 8 years. She reached out to me through Twitter, I believe. This sounds so funny saying it out loud.
Wow.
She had watched a video on YouTube where I had been interviewed by a friend of mine, as to how I got into my business or why I started it. And she realized that we were local. So she reached out. We ended up having coffee and realized that she actually knew some of my family members. And so from there, we've just kept in touch, and she really is one of my best friends. And then I actually was connected to Kim through Cheryl, as Cheryl had worked with Kim previously, and I was looking to take my business in a different direction. And so I hired Kim to be my coach last year.
Isn't that something? And I just have to take a moment to say, think about how many times in the last few years we have been told how powerful video is in helping your clients find you and for you to attract your right kind of client. And here, your YouTube video helped you find a best friend.
Yes, that's so true.
How crazy is that, right? Because Cheryl was able to watch your video and understand your personality. It's just what we say from a marketing standpoint, but it happened from a personal standpoint, which is all good, and that's great too. But it actually reinforces how she was able to get a sense of who you were, what kind of person you were, and she felt comfortable enough in that to reach out to you on Twitter and connect with you.
Yeah. I think I was maybe 1 year ahead of her in starting my business. And so we really connected on that similarity. But I mean, from then on, it was like, this girl's really awesome. I can't wait to just be her friend.
Wow. I love that. I really love that. And by the way, I didn't say, Sheryl Luckett, the name of her firm is Dwell by Cheryl. And later in the show, I'll make sure I mention what number episodes these other fabulous women, Kim Cutable and Sheryl Luckett, were on. So for now, though, okay, so talk to me about this, Jennifer. Okay, so you help everybody, not just interior designers, organize their home offices, their homes, whatever it is that needs organizing. But in particular, you did also work with Cheryl in helping her to organize her home studio, didn't you? Did you not?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about, let's start with this, because I think the process of organizing an interior design studio, you tell me if you think differently, but I think that has challenges that other spaces do not. We have all different types and shapes and sizes of samples, and sometimes it's like, where do we put this big pile of wood like samples? And I know with us with window treatments, we've got drapery color chip, like the rod chips, the drapery hardware chips, and then we have, it's a mess. It's crazy. It can get overwhelming, right?
Well, we all want structure, and we crave it, especially in the space that's our moneymaker.
I love that.
But when you are looking at, say, a home office, or if you have a studio space, there are all different categories of things that you want to keep, from office supplies to, pens and notebooks, files for clients, files for just reference, samples. I mean, the types of samples, the sizes, how they package them, that will just send a person over the edge.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
what I'm saying. It's not like organizing your sock, drawer.
Yeah.
All the socks are the same size. It's easy. Just fold them up and do it. This is more challenging. And of course, we're talking about challenging from a physical space perspective, but then there's the extra layer that you work with the individual who, for whatever, I don't want to say emotional reasons, because that sounds like a therapy session, but for whatever other reasons resists the organization, not just from the physical size dilemma, right?
Well, and when we start organizing, oftentimes we just want to organize our way out of the mess. So we just want to go ahead and jump in and buy the organizing containers, buy the labels, do whatever it is that's going to make it look good, especially for designers, because that's y'all's strong suit. You are the more creative, the pretty. But the first step is always decluttering, then you organize after. And it really is a matter of, are we adding to or are we subtracting from? And when you do get to that detailed level of, now, how do I want this to look and feel? That is when, especially for Cheryl, when we were working in her office, I was like, oh, this is great. This shelf will be perfect for all of your wallpaper samples. And then she brings over this book that's like the size of Mount Everest. Like, what? This doesn't fit.
Right. It's annoying, I have to say.
Yes. We should have a whole podcast with all of the companies that send out samples and say, okay, this is what you need to abide by.
Well, I mean, even us in Window Works with all of the drapery book samples that we have, it is crazy because I know Kimberly, she likes that when you walk in that because we have literally two 20-foot, 25, not foot, maybe yards. I'm the worst with that stuff. I measure every day for a living. Can you tell? But really long walls on both sides and on three sides actually of bookshelves with all of our sample books in it from Kravitz and all of the others. And the thing is, she likes to walk in and at a glance see all the same binders from Kravitz and all the same binders from whatever. And of course, I'm like, well, I want all the shears together and I want all the upholstery together. So we do have, there's actually two layers of organization within our some 2,000 sample books because first they're organized by type, so shears, upholstery, drapery weight, stripes, multi, whatever. But then within that, they're organized by companies so that those binders look good together. But it's hard because then they'll send the books all in different sizes.
Right. It's very similar to how you organize your closet. Some people might want to organize just by color, but I recommend organizing by style and then color within it. But
see, right.
So
it's like evening clothes, all then start with black and move to blue and move to red and move to pink and move to white. And then it's like daytime shirts and, like that. That's what you mean.
Yeah.
Same thing. Okay.
I too, like shorts, skirts, shorts, pants, it should go in a specific order.
Right. So that's like shears, upholstery, prints.
Exactly.
Love it. Okay, love it. Okay, so what happened when you worked with Cheryl to, I hope we didn't check with her. Does she mind that we pick apart this process that you went through with her?
I actually documented it on my website too.
Oh, okay. So that's right. I forgot that. So you know what? It's out there. It's on the internet. It's free reign. So what were the challenges? Now we have the challenge of the size and shape and the style of samples. Were there other things that, that you could share that other designers listening could relate to and maybe learn something from?
So it really started with the feeling of the space, and she felt very underwhelmed by her home office. And she realized that as she's like, I've been sitting at my kitchen table for weeks working and I'm avoiding going to my office. So there's some emotional reason as to why she wasn't going in there. And we were just talking on the phone one night, kind of through what was going on. And I said, well, it sounds like it's too full. And she said, yeah, I think that might be it. Would you be interested in coming over? Of course I would. So I came by, we walked through her whole house, but we were really focusing on her home office and some other spaces nearby, some other closets that we could use for storage, just talking about what was working, what wasn't. I was kind of eyeballing the furniture. As she said, I really like this étagère, but it's not really functioning. It's pretty, but it's not functioning for my needs. So I was making notes of some things that she might want to sell online and get something else. And I don't really like doing a lot of talking. I like to get down to business and work. So I said, okay, are you ready to get busy? And she's like, oh gosh, are we organizing? I said, sure, why not?
I thought this was just a meet and greet. And I could warm up to this and get ready.
So when we were just talking about the one space, the home office, we pulled everything out, all the drawers, all the closets, anything that was just hiding. We put it all out in the floor, and then we started to sort it into categories. So this is, samples. This is home office supplies. These are files. These are receipts. Whatever came out, we were sorting them into high-level categories. And from there, she started to make decisions on what it was that she didn't want. So that's decluttering first, and we organize second. And when you sort it all first into broad categories, it actually makes the decluttering easier, because if you just start decluttering and deciding, do I need this pen when you open a drawer? Well, the answer is, of course, I need a pen. But if you realize you have 150, then it becomes a lot easier. So she went through, decided, I don't want this, I don't want that. There were some things that she was going to sell in a yard sale, other stuff we just donated. And there were some other things that we found that we realized were better suited in another part of the house. That kind of always depends. Like for me, I like to keep technology in the home office, whether that's headphones or cords. It's just the one place that I know where they are. So there was some other things that we found that we realized this should be in the laundry room or the kitchen. So once we had a better idea of what she wanted to keep in that space, then we started to look at the furniture and is this serving my needs? Is this, if I like to grade furniture from A to an F, and we all know that grading system from school. And A means it's passed with flying colors, and F means it really failed miserably, and we should probably get something else. So she did actually sell some pieces online that were really pretty, but just weren't serving her small home office, and has since purchased some different things. Like, let's say you've got this really beautiful armoire, but it's big and bulky and it's not really meeting your needs. We'll get rid of it and then maybe get something that's slimmer with bookshelves. And the type of furniture that you buy or need, or the closet space, really is dependent upon all that stuff that you've already determined that you want to keep in there. And that's kind of the system.
So when I visualize this, we are legitimately, if you're going all in and really committing to a full-on overhaul, you are emptying pretty much everything out of everything and just
Yes.
Okay. I mean, and that this isn't like an hour project now. This is, I am once and for all getting this stuff figured out. Okay. And so we put it all in a pile. We go back, we figure out, we look at this pile now. And of course, your point is well made. When everything is out in front of you and you have put your 15th tape measure in the pile, it's sort of like, this is overkill. You know, 12 of these can go in the garage. Thank you very much. Right. Or actually can be gotten rid of, because who needs 15 tape measures?
Exactly.
So, but I see what you mean by that, because it's, you want to have the maximum space in order to create that organization. And if you don't really see in front of you all the duplicate things that you might have collected and all of the things that you actually now, when it's looking at you in the middle of the room, you're saying, I don't even need that, or I don't need it in this room. You now are taking and allowing for something else to take the space that had. Okay. So to what level are we, to what level, Jen, when you're working with people who are attempting to do this, is there pushback on things that you as an objective bystander are able to just say, you actually don't need that here, but somebody is, oh no, has to be. So what happens with that?
So there's generally two pushbacks, one on the time and two on whether or not someone should keep something. So organizing takes time. It's like laundry. It's never done. And when we do it right the first time, we don't have to do it again. But we want to get it done really quickly because it's something that we just don't really want to look at. We've been avoiding it for a while, but it's actually not as bad as we think once we get started, but it's like a Band-Aid. People just want to hurry up and get it done. So it's number one, can we hurry up? That's the time. And two, when we talk about what are we keeping and why. So energy, all of the things that we have in our home have energy. And oftentimes if they've been sitting in a drawer, in a closet, on a desk, it's just what I call stuck energy. It's just stagnant. And when you start to move that stuff around, the energy of the room increases and some clarity comes from it. But there's also this other energy that shows up of, well, I might need it just in case, or I was planning on doing X with that, or I really wanted to put all these business cards into my phone. And that's where the decluttering process can come to a halt really quickly. So if you're thinking that you might need it for the just in case, then rationally, how long have we had it? So for example, I'll have calendars or notebooks like, oh, I was planning on using that. Well, if I was planning on using it for a year and I haven't, then it's unlikely that I'm actually going to use it in the future.
Isn't it funny though that there are legitimately some things that are hard to throw away, right? Like, and I don't even mean emotional things, but I mean like good notebooks. Like I will come across old not old because I've never used them, but old brand new notebooks that I like thought I had to have and I love. And then I'm like, never use them. You know what I mean? Like, it's so funny. And then every time I organize and clean out like this, I will come across them again. And then I make a new pile of them. And I'm like, okay, now I have 5 this year instead of 6, instead of 3, now I have 5. I don't know. We all have our stuff, right?
Yeah, and then there's the other things that I like to call projects, the stuff that we're holding on to for I want to do that when. And that's generally when we have more time, oh, I'm going to do that on a snowy day when I'm not going anywhere. Well, if you rated that project on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being this is so much fun, I can't wait to do it, it's probably going to come in at about a 2. You're never going to do it. And projects take time. And that's the thing that we all really, for the most part, are very cognizant of. How much time do we have and where do we want to invest it? And organizing, unless your name is Jennifer Burnham, really isn't most people's favorite thing to do. That's why it keeps getting pushed down on the priority level.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Oh my God. It is your favorite thing to do, right?
Oh, it is absolutely my favorite. I could sort and declutter all day long. There are days when I come home from working with clients and I'm just so fired up that I'll go and do it in my own house.
That's funny. Okay, so we have this. What do you think is? You mentioned there, you're saving. I think you were talking about like maybe somebody who thinks that they're going to do this amazing scrapbook project. Like I'm trying to think of something that you put in a closet and you think you're going to do and you never do, right? But whatever it is, what do you recommend beyond, like to push them to say, just throw it away? See, I am the throw it away person. I have to say, I am the throw it away person. I will look at it and to the point of, almost annoyance at my husband, because I will look at, like, if I'm going to organize a closet and say it's a home closet and I come across, say, this exactly happened, a hot water heater, not a hot water, a hot heating pad. And like, I legitimately looked at this thing and I went, Luann, you've had this thing for like 20 years. I don't know that you've used it 2 times in 20 years. I don't think anybody in your family has used it more than 2 times in 20 years. This is going in the garbage. We are not finding a spot for this. And do you know, I'm not one bit joking. Like 3 months later, he's like, don't we have a heating pad? And I'm like, no, we do not. He's like, why not?
We don't use it.
Right? I mean, so the thing is, I'm a little bit more cutthroat, where I now have learned, like that was probably 10 years ago when that happened. And I now have learned, I don't care. I don't care that one day in all of the future of my life, I won't need this. If I have not used it in X amount of months, years, or decades, I will throw it away. But that is not easy for everybody to do, because you probably theoretically are going to need it. Or you might do that project that you bought, your ancestry project. So what do you really suggest on that? Am I too much one way? Is there a middle ground? Is there a place that you can organize crazy crap like that you're really probably not going to do, but you might do, or you just want to do?
So what I love about projects is, well, let me back up. When I organize with clients, we spend 3 to 4 hours together. And so you can plan on doubling that if you're doing it on your own. And it takes roughly 2 sessions to declutter one space. So if you were doing a big space like an office or a garage. So if you're thinking, okay, I'm listening to this, I'm going to organize my home office this weekend, just know that you're probably only going to get one level done this weekend and maybe next weekend finish it up. So when you start to sort it all, there would be the surface clutter that's extremely easy to get rid of, the duplicates, the stuff that's broken, and then the other things that show up. And that's where the decision becomes a challenge. So the decision is, number one, the hard part. Once you decide, I've never had a client call me back and say, man, I really wish I hadn't gotten rid of that one thing. So out of sight, out of mind, but it's working through the decision. And one thing, when you say throw it away, so I'm a big fan of donating, but also finding a charity that would actually use the thing that I'm donating. That makes the decision a little bit easier, because when you think, man, I bought this notebook or all these office supplies, I spent all this money, I didn't use it, that's so wasteful. So we start to get a little negative on ourselves. But if we realize that there's, for example, in Charlotte, there's a charity where they don't sell it. They take donations, and then teachers can come and buy, I'm using air quotes here, office supplies for themselves. Oh. So that way you don't feel so wasteful. So I encourage anyone who's really struggling with, I know I'm not going to use it. I feel really bad that I wasted this money. See if there's a charity locally that you can donate your stuff. The other thing is, this stuff is not an investment. It is meant to be used and loved. So if we're not using it, then it's actually not doing it any service at all. And stuff is meant to be used. I mean, children's books were printed to be read by children, not to be in an attic for a memory purpose. And it's one thing if we keep 1 or 2, but we certainly don't need to keep 500. And when you look at when you start to organize, you really start the vacuum cleaner. So you turn on the vacuum, you're sucking out all the stuff that you don't want. And it's actually letting the universe know that you're ready for the good. The good doesn't have to be more stuff. You're not saying, hey, universe, I want to fill my office with more stuff. You're saying, I want to fill it with clients that I like working with. I want to fill it with clarity so I can actually come in here and write and create. And there's all these happy side effects that happen when we start to organize, but we have to kind of find that self-worth and self-love in letting go of the things that we know we aren't using. We know that we want, that we know that we won't end up using. And if it is a project, put it in a painful place. That's the word that I like to use. Put it on the kitchen counter. Put it someplace that you have to walk by it daily. And if you're like, you know what, by golly, I am not going to put these 500 business cards into my contacts on my phone. Just get rid of them. If I really need to meet that painter, I can just look them up on the internet.
I like that tip. Put it where, because that really does force you to get real with yourself. If you have to keep moving it and to make dinner, you keep moving it to do your floor plans, whatever it is, put it in an inconvenient spot, you will eventually have that moment where like, this is never going to happen, or sweet Jesus, I've got to sit down and get this done so I can get this thing out of my face.
It does really make it extremely obvious to you how important it is. But when you hide it, if you put it back in the closet or back in the drawer, then you forget about it, but it's still taking up all that space. The energy, again, is still very stagnant.
And that's the second time you mentioned that. It's interesting that you've used the word that the energy is stagnant and that the universe, you have to vacuum it out so the universe can know that you're ready for new things, not necessarily items things, but new energy. Let's call it that. That's interesting because look, anybody listens to the show knows I'm right there and all that woo-woo, okay? I'm right there. I don't even think it's woo-woo. I think it's just real stuff, okay? I'm surprised that you're talking about it in that way. I don't know that in reading about you before meeting you that I got that big sense. Is that part is it a big part of what you do and speak to with your clients, Jen, or is it's your belief and you put it in there where it's appropriate, like you did here, and if somebody grabs on, great, and if somebody it's not their cup of tea, it doesn't matter to you, not coming at it from that direction?
That is pretty much the basis of my philosophy on organizing. So order is heaven's first law, and we can never be at our best. We can never be our best self when we're surrounded by mess. And you just cannot create greatness, whether that's in your business, in your life, when you have stuff all around you. And when I started to organize, I didn't realize that there was a connection. I thought it was just, let's get it organized, let's get it out, let's get the bins and the containers. And then when we started to move things around and clients would open up to me about other things that were going on, I realized, oh, wow, this is a lot deeper. And it's not even so much about the stuff that we're keeping, but it's our relationship with that stuff. What are we holding on to and why? Why do we feel that we need to keep it? There's this old saying that you either are like your parents or you rebel completely against them. So my mom is kind of middle ground. She definitely wants her house tidy, but she's not as OCD as I am. My dad, however, is way more on the hoarder spectrum. So he likes to keep things just because they were free. If he's at an event and they're giving out free pens, instead of getting one, he'll get 50. So So I really rebelled against seeing that as a kid. And I truly believe that this is the gift that I've been given to really think in terms of shapes. I tell this to clients all the time. I don't like circles, especially when organizing, because it wastes a lot of space. I like a rectangle or a square. That's just that's the lens in which I see life. And then when I realized that it's all connected, I have a client who we've worked together for a year, and as a happy side effect of organizing, she's lost 65 pounds and she's taken this different approach to her home. She's hired a stager to come in and help her decorate it. They're not moving, but she's a realtor, so she has a great connection with the stager. And so she loved herself and realized that she had the power to decide, what am I keeping and what am I not? And then it spilled over into her weight, into her home, and now it's spilling over into her business, which is awesome to see.
So that's really what the premise of the conversation for it being on the podcast is the fact that when the space that you exist in is organized, if you're in other words, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like your business is stagnant, if you're feeling like things are not moving and grooving, this is one place to start. Right? In other words, you have to look at your marketing, you have to look at your systems, you have to look at all these other things. But sometimes as business owners, we could be so, I want to say, far under the, let's just use the word cloud since we're doing this woo-woo stuff, but so far under the cloud of being unmotivated or feeling unoptimistic about our business future, that the idea of going out and marketing, or the idea of finally getting my process completely organized and on paper so that I know exactly what it is, can be overwhelming. But organizing your space is a great place to just get that mojo going, don't you think?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Organizing less or owning less is better than organizing more. The easiest way to organize your stuff is to get rid of it. And that, I truly believe that we should look at the things that we have in our home. I mean, I walk into homes and they look like storage units. Not all of the spaces, but quite a bit of it does. And that says, okay, something is going on and we need to get to the root of it. So when a lot of times people feel that they have more wealth if they have more stuff, but stuff can actually be very suffocating. Especially for not using it, because we have to keep up with it. When you start to clear that energy, it actually clears up all this energy in your mind. You become clearer. And if you are wanting to write or be more creative in your business, then it starts to bubble up. It's just been suffocated for so long.
Right. Yeah, I just, I feel like that it's one of those things. It's sort of like when you have this big hurdle, maybe with health or exercise, and you can't imagine doing the big Zumba class, but you can walk around the block, right? So this is okay. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, but I can start with my desk, and then that can lead to something else, and then the clarity, and then the train starts to roll. Right.
And you can always ask for help, whether that's from your husband or your mom or a sister or a friend. Just make sure that whoever you're asking for help, that they're going to be helpful and not harmful. I've seen families where they've tried to organize together, and somewhere along the way, some comments come out that end up hurting. If someone says, my gosh, why do we have all this stuff? They speak to the thing that we're already feeling about ourselves, and it makes it even harder to keep doing it. Because organizing is simple, but simple doesn't necessarily mean easy. There is work involved. There are ways to not overcomplicate it. Asking for help is one of them, but if you don't have someone in your life, then certainly call, a professional organizer or a coach and see if they could help you.
Right? It's like, come ready and respect yourself to create the space that you want to be that creative, principle of your design firm.
And there's also, when you're cooking, for example, you're cooking a big soup, and You add a little bit of spice here, you add a little ingredient there, and you taste it and see how it is. That's the thing with organizing. Back to the fact that it takes time. Spend some time with it. You can always add to, like, let's say the space is really simple and you're there for a month and you're like, it's a little boring. Okay, well, add a picture, add a little something. But instead of trying to get it right first, spend a little time and see how are you in your space. And you will generally know when it's too full. And I constantly reassess my office. I mean, I do my entire house probably every 2 months, but that's me. But there are things that I have taken off the wall. I had a huge chalkboard up in my office and I didn't like it. It was messy. I didn't like the chalk dust. I didn't like the way it looked. So I replaced it with whiteboards. But it's okay to say, well, that didn't work. Let me try something else. Oftentimes we want it to be right the first time. And then we dig our heels in. We're like, well, crap, I spent money on that. I'm going to make that work. And sometimes it's not going to work. It's okay to look around and see, do I need something else? Maybe that's not serving me like I thought it would.
So what are some of the other things that, now, is there a component of this, Jen, that we could address when a designer is doing a project for a client and the client space is over cluttered and they're asking for the designer to create a nice environment, and they're saying things like, this is my home office, or this is my reading space, this is my library, and it just isn't working for me. And you're looking as the designer going, well, that's because it's loaded with everything in the world here. So is there some tips in language you could share with our friends listening that maybe would help them? Because they're not going to look, a lot of designers are just like you, totally able to organize a space and see the clarity and understand what goes where. But you can't just like throw it all aside. You can't just throw the crap all on a table. There's a manner, I guess, or a method. Do you have tips for that when we're in that position with our client?
So the first question I'm sure that every designer probably asks is, what is the purpose of this space? What do you want to do in here? And when someone sort of gets the idea of the why behind how they want to use their space, then a designer can then take that and say, okay, this is your home office. You want it to be your studio. You want to record a podcast here. You want your husband to have a desk over there. Do you want to keep your files in here? Yes, we do. Okay, we'll need a filing cabinet. So I'm much more functional than I am fancy, but I know there are tons of designers out there who are able to toe both sides of the line, where they really bring in the beauty of a space, but it is functional for them. And in order to get the design right, especially if it's a space that is kind of a high functioning needs space, which would be a home office, then it is, I'm sure they do this already, but ask the questions in advance. What are we doing? What are we keeping? What is it in this space that you don't like? For example, desk. I think that we all should have a desk with drawers. I oftentimes see people who just have a dining table or a surface because they're looking for a space to write, but we need drawers. When you think about office supplies, they're small and there's kind of a lot of them, from paper clips to binder clips, pens, markers, highlighters, and it's best if all those little categories are separated, but it's really hard to do that on a shelf in a closet. It's easier to do that in a drawer. So it's those little OCD things that I don't know if everyone's thinking about.
Well, that's the biggest movement right now is all these beautiful desks with like a single drawer, if any, or it's a glass top, or it's whatever. And it's the truth. You just look at it and you're saying, well, that's awesome, but who can get any, what do you do with your stuff? Like, so, when on photo shoot day, it's gorgeous, but the rest of the week, it's a hot mess because all your books and everything and your pens and your pads are all on the floor around you, right? Or they're on the shelves behind you, which just really look like they're set for looks, but they have all your crap there, right? So, okay. So, but I love this suggestion is that, if we start with, it's for instance, to ask a client, what is your main purpose for this room? What is your goal for this room? That doesn't start the client feeling attacked. That's what a client needs and expects to hear from an interior designer. But for a designer, we can use that as to keep going around to the point. It's like, so, yes, I want to use this as my sleeping space. This is my master bedroom. Oh, and do you like to watch TV and read in your mind? No, we only okay, so why do we have 50,000 of these here? And why do we have this here, right? So then you can keep just bringing them back to, this is what you expressed to me, so let's create that for you, and not have to worry about being completely degreed psychologist in doing this, right?
Right. And this just showed up. I'm not doing it, although it's a great idea. I should probably take my own idea. I think there's an opportunity for designers and organizers to work together. I have a client a designer redid this beautiful master suite for her. And in her master closet, it is gorgeous. And so we were in there and I was asking some questions and I said, okay, so what side does your husband have? She was like, oh, this is all mine. I was like, this is all your stuff? I said, oh, I see. When Betty installed everything and they did an amazing job, then she's like, okay, good luck unpacking it all. And you were left wondering what to do. And I opened up, there's this little basket for her clothes, for her dirty clothes, a little hamper. She had boots in there.
Oh my goodness.
What in the world? So I think even if a designer is not, like, maybe that's just not their strong suit, then there's some opportunity to work with an organizer and bring them in on the back end to help do the unpacking, to help situate and make the space functional, because the designer has already made it pretty. Then how do we make sure that it's, set up and functioning? Because while it's nice on photo shoot day that it is pretty, I know most designers would like for their families to use it and use it well.
Right. Well, and your advice to have the open mind to work together is no different than, a designer works with a painter or a tiler or a carpenter, right? The vision is here. I've got I'm in the driver's seat, but I need you to help execute it and to make the whole thing happen in real life.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Very good. Very good. Okay. And so what are some of the other things that you can think of that are, you do this as a living. So what have I not asked you? What did I not think to ask you about as far as key takeaways for, let's take it from the standpoint of increasing our own productivity in our own business by having an organized space?
So what I hear over and over is, well, I take loads of stuff to Goodwill all the time, and it still looks like there's so much stuff in my house. So going back to the vacuum cleaner, when you start to declutter, you turn the vacuum cleaner on, and so stuff goes out. But organizing is a loop. So you declutter, you move things out, you move things to the room in the house that it's supposed to belong, you move things in that you want to be stored in this space. You live with it for maybe a month, assess what you need, and then you install systems. And that closes the loop. Oftentimes we declutter because we get really fired up. By golly, I'm so tired of all this crap. I'm going to organize. And we send things out, but we don't put any systems in place. So that's when it ends up getting unorganized again. And the system, systems make life easy, and they just ensure that we're ready pretty much for anything. You pretty much will know that you need a system if you have this recurring challenge, or you can't find something like an important item. This happens all the time. Oh my God, where's my phone or my keys? And I see clients kind of get really worried, like, oh, where's my thing? And we just need a system. So the foundation of organizing is really simple: a place for everything and everything in its place. The beginning of a pile, or the beginning of an organization, is when something comes in and you don't know where it goes. So you put it on the counter. That might be something new, right? Or you know where it goes and that place is full. And so that means, we need to weed out, we need to declutter again so we can keep our house in check, because we are our own gatekeepers. And if it's our responsibility to keep track of what's coming in and what's going out of our home, it cannot be unbalanced. We cannot have too much coming in and not enough going out. So regular check-ins, number one, on decluttering help, and then finishing the process. So decluttering is great. That's certainly where it starts, but you do want to make sure that you move things around. And it's hard when you're doing it on your own because you run out of energy. So give yourself permission to just maybe do it over the course of a month, a little bit every Saturday or Sunday afternoons, because it does take time. It's like cooking. You burn on high, you cook on low.
Right. That's funny. That's a good analogy. I mean, I think what I'm hearing in there when you're talking about is you have the declutter, you have the get rid of, you have the organize, you have the put it away stage, but it's the maintenance now. It's the system is in the keeping what you've done. And for you, you go through every 2 months. For me, I'm like every year. Other people are every 20 years, right? So I have to say that by, just like we talk about with your business, by getting a hold on your financials or getting a hold on your processes or getting on hold on your hiring process, whatever it is, this is the same with your office, getting a hold on organizing your office and your home. If you get in the habit of just taking that couple of minutes at the end of every day, it doesn't mean, for people like me, I'll tell you how I do it. I will put away 85% of my stuff every day, and I always have this one pile on this one spot in the kitchen. That's that, like you said, where the heck does this stuff go? Like, I don't know, it's a coupon for Bed Bath & Beyond that I never have with me when I'm at Bed Bath & Beyond. Right? But it's like that. But I don't let it go past that one pile, right? And then it is easier for now in this day in my life, thank God, I'm happy and blessed that the housekeeper comes. And now I don't have to spend 2 hours getting ready for the housekeeper. It's just like walk out the door. But it's what you're saying. It's having a system for maintaining it. It's not going to be perfect if it's not your nature, but it's every step you make towards it is helpful, right?
Well, and perfection isn't the goal. It's the consistency of sticking with it. I mean, if you come in my house on a Wednesday, for the most part, it's going to be organized. Our kitchen is the part that catches those things that come in and I just haven't had a chance to put away. But on Friday evening, I'll put the house back in order. So if I am going to clean on Saturday, it's easier. And I don't mind so much because it hasn't gotten too far out of balance.
Right. That's the thing about it. It's not a project. That's the thing about it. It's the same when I'm talking to designers about the systems in their business. Do it once when you're trying to create a new system for your finances, trying to create a new system for hiring, a handbook for your company. Put it in your calendar once a week for 1 hour. It's not going to take just 1 hour to do it. It's going to take 10, but put it in your calendar every week for 1 hour and chip away, because the 10 weeks are going to pass and you're either at 10 weeks going to have your employee handbook or you're not. Right? And so put aside 10 minutes, put all the shoes away, the coats away, bring the laundry baskets up. And then, at the end of the week, you don't have to do that 2 hours of straightening up or cleaning your desk up in order to start working. Right? And I think you have to experience it to be converted to it, especially when it's not your nature.
True.
I really do. I mean, like, I'm like a born again with it. That's what I am. And I also have to say, because I do not like to do it, now when we downsized our house, I completely emptied it out. I was just like, I'm not even decorating this house. I don't want the crap around.
You can walk around your house and think, if I'm moving in 3 months, would I take this with me? I'd love to play that game with myself. It's like, absolutely not. This would not make it.
Right. See, you could do that in my house because I would say after living here 5 years, there's might be 5 or 6 things total that I would say, that's not going to come with me because I don't bring it in anymore. I really don't. But I am much older than most of you and have had that phase of my life where I had the beautiful house and had every little vignette created and the most beautiful, welcoming guest bedroom retreat with the tray and all the crap that nobody ever uses in a guest bedroom. I mean, come on. What guests have tea and bread in bed?
Not at my house.
Right. But I mean, you do these things for the beauty. And right now I'm into the streamline and the function and the efficiency and the productivity. And I have to say, it's amazing.
And it also depends on what beauty means to you. Some people like things. Some people like being home. And I do too, but I also like being out I want to be out doing things. So I try not to have too much at home by way of projects, by stuff that I should be doing. So I don't feel so bad when I'm out experiencing whatever it is that I want to do, a hike, up the mountain. And then I'm thinking, crap, all that stuff I have to do when I get home.
No, you're absolutely right. You can have a beautifully appointed home, everything in its place, and that's not the criteria for being organized, not having all of your accessories and your beauty around you. You're absolutely right. But not having the clutter around and more things that clog your brain. Like you said, they clog your energy, right?
They really do.
Yeah. I call it, I can't breathe. That's what I say. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. So I can breathe at home. It's tougher at WindowWorks, but but I just love that concept of breaking through in a space, when I say space, in a space in your mind, that if you are not productive at work and not feeling like your pipeline is full, that this could be a Saturday project that might just open that energy, might just open that creativity, just might make that feel, you just come away feeling just a little bit better and maybe more optimistic. And then maybe the next conversation that you have with somebody, you are just more on your A game because you're feeling good, right?
Yeah, you get a handle on it, and then it makes you a little bit more self-confident. So when you are talking to someone, you aren't looking around at all the piles of stuff and feeling a little bad about yourself. You're like, man, I'm pretty a rock star. Like, yeah, you should work with me, and this is how much it is and what it's going to look like.
Right. I love it. So, Jennifer, can you work with people remotely? Do you do the whole like FaceTime thing and show me your house, or are you pretty much restricted or prefer to work in the Charlotte area?
So as of right now, I'm just working locally with Charlotte folks, but I am working on launching a group program for this year. It's not out yet, but I'm working on it. So maybe by the time the podcast is out, it will be up. Oh,
interesting. And do you want to share what that would be like? How is that to work with, or is it too early and don't ask that question?
It might be a little too early.
Okay. All right. So you'll have to let me know when it's out or when you launch it in social, tag me, and then I will share it out and remind everybody. So I think this has been awesome. I really, really thank you for coming on and just talking about the conversation and sharing it. I know that you have empathy for a designer studio, knowing how many crazy shapes and sizes and things that we need, right? It's yes. A lot, but it's important to feel like you mentioned, Cheryl had stopped working in her studio, and that's not good. That's silly, right? You want to make your space, and of course you would, like I said, you would do it for your kid, you would do it for your family member, you would do it for your client. So please, think about doing it for yourself so that you are bringing your A game every day and working in a space that fulfills you and makes you feel like you are the big girl or big boy business owner that you are, right?
Right. Like, don't just be good to others, be good to yourself too.
Exactly. So I love it. So I just wanted to tell everybody, we did mention Kim Cutable, who is a coach for interior designers and creatives, and both Cheryl and Jen have worked with her. And if you want to learn more about Kim, you can go back to episode number 73. And I had a very nice woo-woo conversation, by the way, with Kim and that, as I recall. And then also Sheryl Luckett is Dwell by Cheryl. And Cheryl was on episode 291 on the show. And then also you can check out Cheryl's line of furniture at sylvesteralexander.com, because she did just launch it in the fall of 2018, right? And so yes. Thank you for being with me today. And you guys, I hope that you got some help and ideas from Jennifer's conversation. Jennifer can be found at Jennifer Burnham. It's JenniferBurnham.com, JenniferBurnham.com. And so what's your decision today, you guys? What are you going to do? Are you going to decide to put some time in your calendar to organize your desk, your life, your office, any little part of it. I think it'd be a great decision. I think it'd be something that will really help you multiply and magnify and optimize your productivity, and which when you do that, you always increase your profitability. So good luck with that, and I just hope you have a great day, and thank you so much for joining us. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at luannigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.